Hey everybody, welcome to my wood shop. I have a lot of things going on here, so I'm excited about that. A lot of different projects going on, but I wanted to take a few minutes to give the first update of the first project of the year, which is going to be a chessboard. So thank you to everybody who took a moment to kind of weigh in on the different types of projects that you want to see me make throughout the year. I'm super excited about this one. I've been wanting to build a chessboard for quite a while now. So yeah, excited to get this one checked off the list. But as a bonus, so as you can see, my shop is in a pretty rough state right now. I'm mid-transition from my basement, which is where I had all of my tools, up into my garage, which I'm working on turning into a proper shop. So I'm actually going to take some before photos today, and then throughout the year, hopefully you'll see some progress on just watching the shop transform into a proper woodworking shop. So that's going to be coming as well. But yeah, so all of that said, let's stop talking and let's make a chessboard. So I have this beautiful curly maple here, get in on that figure. Once that's sanded and polished up, it's gonna be amazing. And then I got some nice dark walnut here. So some really nice contrast between these two woods. And my first step is going to be, I'm gonna start with the grid. And so I'm going to be milling these up and getting some squares out of them. So this maple is actually a pretty chunky piece of wood. That's about almost a little bit more than 1.5 inches thick. I really only need these to be 1/2 inch thick, so I can probably get 2 out of a piece. So I'm gonna just cut a notch out of this one, and then this guy there's a split way in the end here, and then the back doesn't look too great. There's quite a few knots and ugly pieces. So we're gonna just see what we can get out of this, but the goal here is to get 4.5 inch by 14 inch strips of each type of wood. All right, so take a look at this. So I bought this piece of wood, and it's kind of been pre-milled, so it's already very flat, and you might be tempted to just start cutting some strips out of that. But with a chessboard grid, you need this to be dead on. And if you see my triangle here, if I can zoom in here, as I approach that edge, it's flat against the bottom, but as I approach that edge, that is not 90 degrees. So my first step here is going to be milling this up on the jointer and maybe cutting it just a little bit on my miter saw. Okay, so it's a bit of a chaotic update. My camera setup is not ideal yet, but what I have here, I did quite a bit of milling work on these boards. So using the joiner, planer, and table saw, kind of cut them all to equal width and height. We're going to rip these down a little bit more. I want each of the squares to be 1.5 inches. Right now these are each about 4 inches. So I'm going to get 2 comfortable strips out of each of these, which will give me the 8 squares or strips that I need for the first glue up. And they're all planed to the same thickness. So my next step is going to be cutting the strips out of these down to 1.5 inches. All right, guys, welcome back to the shop. It is the next day, so our first glue up is done here, and I'm going to show that in just a second. But today, my hope is we're going to be able to get this glue up processed, cut the next set of strips, and by the time I'm done, this should start to look a little bit more like a chessboard. So you can see here, this is the glue up, and it's not perfectly flat. Now I probably could have fixed that by putting some boards across here and clamping them down to just hold everything flush and in place, but it's not a big deal because I intentionally cut this thick. So we have about 3/16 of thickness that is slot material. So what I think I'm gonna do is I think I'm going to just run one side of this through the planer so we have a nice flat edge, and then I will cut my strips, glue it back together, and then once that glue up is done, I will be able to get it to the final thickness through the planer from there. But let's get these clamps off and let's start cutting this up again. So one quick pass through the planer and how's that looking? Pretty darn good. So you can see here that the ends are not perfectly flush, not a big deal. I have this plenty long to cut off some of that excess. So we're gonna cut that off and then start cutting our cross cuts here to get our 8 strips and then put those together for the actual grid. All right, so I have the edge cut flush, and I never moved my fence from yesterday, so this should be in a position to cut these squares exactly as they were yesterday. All right, and here we go. So here's all the pieces cut up and arranged. So next step is going to be to do another glue up. This time dead accuracy is going to be imperative because these are already cut to width and length, and so I need to make sure these ends are almost pristine in order to make sure this is perfectly square. So that's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna get this glued up and then we'll be back tomorrow. Yeah, hi everyone. So it is day 3 and I have the second glue up complete. So now we have something that actually looks like a chessboard. So as you can see here, it's all glued up. We're gonna take these clamps off. Surface is pretty uneven right now. I could probably sand that, but I think because I'm still a little bit thick as far as the material goes, we're gonna run this through the planer just a couple of times, get that milled up to final length, check to see that it is perfectly square, and then we can move on to the next phase of this project. All right, here we go. So here is the final glued up grid. It's funny, the grain pattern of this wood makes it look a little bit uneven, but you can see when I tip it up on the edge here, that is perfectly flat. So we are almost perfectly square. We're about a 32nd of an inch off, wider than longer, but I think I can actually take care of that just through some sanding. So with this part of the project done, we are officially going to be moving into the frame that will go around this grid. So I just wanted to give one more quick update here. So down here in my basement, but I got this all sanded up to 320 grit. It is silky smooth, feels great, nice and flat. So with this all sanded, I'm gonna go ahead and wipe the dust off with some probably denatured alcohol and get some pictures, and this portion of the project is officially done.